So I ended up in 2017. I ended up homeless. Basically, it was like I came to the end of my road. Everything crashed around me. I lost a job, wrecked two cars, and ended up homeless in the span of like a couple weeks. It
Mm.
was just like boom, 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 and so I ended up homeless. And in that time, I actually was dating a girl whose mom was a Christian. She would kind of talk to me about God, and there was like a couple people, like even one of the people I was homeless with actually is a good friend of mine still, that he would always talk about God. He's homeless, he wasn't necessarily living the best, but he really had faith, and he would always talk to me about God and stuff. And so there were things that started happening, and one of those things was I had an overdose where uh, overdosed in the woods, and when I came to, I was in another world. It was like a dream state, but it was extremely real. Everything was heightened, all my senses, everything, and it was a long path. It was like a path to a doorway, and there was demons on my left, demons on my right, and I was following one, and it had it like a hood up, like a cloaked, like a hood. And I'm following it down this path, but because I'm so wrapped up in my surroundings, I'm not even paying attention to why I'm following it. You know what I mean? I'm just looking around
Mm.
and it's automatically following it. And we get to this big door, and it says, "One more step, you're almost there." And it turns around, and it was this ugly demon like smiling at me. And I said, "Oh, hell no." And I turned around,
Yeah.
and when I turned around, I woke up in a pool of sweat, and I was back.
Whoa. Yeah.
And so I had that happened, and then this lady came up to me, and mind you, actually was going to church. So for a year, I wasn't going at this point, but I got locked up for 18 months in 2015, 2016. Most of that year, I was going to church, like not like probably 3 times a month. I'm going to church, and it was kind of like an escape almost. It was like the one day, a week I could not be a drug addict and could,
Mhm.
pretend to like, and I was actually crying out for God at the time, and I didn't really take it serious though. I didn't think like I didn't expect him to show up, and he wasn't showing up at that time in a way I could perceive at least. And so nothing's changing, but I'm like calling out to Jesus, and so I'd be on my way to go get drugs and be like, Jesus, help me. And so
Mm.
anyways, I stopped going to church at this point for, months, and I go to work at TGI Fridays one day, and this lady comes up to me, and she says, "Hey, God says you need to see him." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. How do I get in touch with him?" Like I was like,
Wake me
"Yeah,
up.
I
Come
do
on.
need," you know. And so the next week I went to a AA meeting, and it was at a church, and something just led me to like leave. Like I just didn't feel like being there. And I walked out the room, and something just like I just felt led to go in the chapel, and no one was there obviously. And I go in there, and I just kind of stood in front of the altar, and I was like, "Hey God, I'm here.
Mm.
What's up? I heard you want to talk to me. I want to talk to you." Like, and nothing happened. I sit down at a pew, I open a Bible, and I just read the page. And so that's that. I leave. Well, a week later, I do literally the exact same thing, except this time I'm reading, and halfway through the page, I realized I read it before, and I realized it was Psalm 18. It was the same thing that I read
Come on.
the week before.
Yeah.
So that really, like, I was like, yo, that's a little crazy. What are the chances of that?
Right.
And so I had another experience where I was in Pennsylvania. This was about a week later, and a week or two later, something like that. And this was all within like a month about. And so I go to Pennsylvania, and long story short, I'm sleeping basically in a bed with my uncle in the basement of my grandparents' house, and there was like two couches and a mattress in the middle connecting them. So like we're watching TV. He's asleep. I'm falling asleep. And that state where before you fall asleep, like it's like those last moments where you're conscious.
Mhm.
I'll never forget it. The show American Pickers was on. And so my eyes are closed, and all of a sudden, these guys' voices change into like demonic voices. Like you like chopped and screwed music or something. They change into voices like that, and they start talking about me. They're like, "His name's Josh. He's from Virginia. We need to destroy him." And I'm bugging out like this is not happening right now, but I know it's
Wow.
happening.
Did your eyes
And
open at that point?
well, so I go to open my eyes, and I couldn't. I'm in sleep paralysis.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so I don't know how much you know about that, but I'm in sleep paralysis. I couldn't move. And
Wow.
then at the same time, I feel like things are trying to get inside of me. Like I'm shaking, trying to get off the bed, like things are trying to possess me, it felt like. and in the sleep state, I like, I guess, fight and wiggle out of the bed, and wasn't even aware I was screaming, I guess. I wake up the whole house. They come downstairs. My grandma's like, "What's going on?" And I'm just like, I don't know, sorry, and go, and I'm trying to go back to sleep. When I go back to sleep, all of a sudden, like these voices are telling me kill my uncle, and I'm like,
Dude.
yeah, like because I'm like,
Whoa.
what? But they're like, it's while I'm denying doing it, while I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that, I find myself getting up to like standing over him. And I'm like, no, no, this is crazy. What am I doing? But I'm like moving to do this thing. And I'm like, what is, and I start moving my hands towards his like head, and his eyes pop open, and I'm standing over him. I can only imagine how he felt. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and he's like, what are you doing, Josh? And like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. And he gets up and like goes in another room, and I go to sleep, and that's that. But